let's talk a little bit more about the 10 steps to virtual wholesaling. So obviously we had talked in the previous live, but I'm going to go back over what the wholesaling process is and what is the difference between virtual and non-virtual wholesaling. And the steps are very much the same. The difference is that with virtual wholesaling, you're not physically doing the things. You're not physically going to the properties. You're not able to in most cases if they're out of your city or out of your state. And when I started 6 years ago, I did it because I had a full-time job. I was negative in my bank account. I was living check to check, not even, let's be real. I was a single mother and I still am 7 years later. And it was something that I needed to do to free up my time. I needed to free up my availability, and I really wanted to make sure that I was able to do the things I needed to do for my son outside of work hours and all of that. I wanted to also just free time. And so getting into wholesaling, I had decided that I work with my mother, Laura Alamiri, but I was like, you know what? I need to get into real estate and do this virtual. And so from the very beginning, I have done it virtual. I wholesale nationwide. I have not seen a single property that I have wholesaled in 6 years. So when I say that this can be done, this can be done. I started locally, even that, and then I branched out to different cities in the state, and then I branched out to different states. So with that being said, let's jump a little bit into the steps. This is going to be a vague overview. If you want more details or how to do this on a more detailed scale, then I recommend talking to me. You can PM me, you can comment below about joining one of our introductory wholesaling courses. But let's talk about the 10 steps to virtual wholesaling. Okay, so the first one is you want to set up your business. You want to find out what area you want to invest in. And if you're going to do virtual, the biggest difference between virtual and doing it yourself is you have a boots on the ground in that area. And so when you have a boots on the ground, it needs to be someone you trust, a family member, a friend, an agent, somebody in that area that is your boots on the ground. That's the most crucial thing here. So the first step is to find an area that you want to invest in and also start finding your boots on the ground there. The second step is to pull leads. Now this is beautiful. You can do this virtually. All of my leads come from virtual. The only thing that isn't technically virtual is I drive for dollars if I'm in the area. So like if I go back home, I drive a lot for dollars. It's the only time I technically see the property is when I'm writing down their address. So can you really count that? Sure. But I do get leads through different steps. There's thousands of ways to do it. My recommendation is do ways that not everybody else is doing. And so we give a bunch of different ways in our coaching, but your biggest thing is to do off the wall ways. Finding on market leads, it's a great strategy. We even have training on that. But off market and people that don't even know they really want to sell yet is the way you want to go. So you want to get a list of leads. I test about 300 to 500 leads when I'm doing a new market just to make sure I'm getting a good response. How is that market doing? Am I able to sell properties there pretty easily? That kind of thing. The next step is to have a CRM. A CRM is a contact management system. And so you want to be able to keep your leads all organized. You know, this business you need to be incredibly organized in. You want to make sure you're able to follow up easily. You want to be able to do that. So in the very beginning, I used Google Sheets, and I provided the exact template to my students. But Google Sheets is a fantastic way to get going. You can have different tabs depending on where they are. You have certain information at the very top that you need, and you just start going and using that as your contact in the beginning, and then you can always jump up. I use Podio now. I know a couple different CRMs. Podio I had built out for me, but again, this is a gradual thing. You're not going to do this overnight. This is something that takes time and building. I've been doing this for 6 years, over 6 years, and so I think in the last year or two, I've really felt like I've perfected my systems, and so having a CRM is crucial. That's something you want to get set up. Number 4 is marketing to leads. You want to start reaching out to these leads. Now, direct mail. I see so many people that say they're wasting money in direct mail. They're not getting a response. Do not waste your time doing direct mail. Please stop doing direct mail. Unless it's a highly targeted list or you've exhausted all other options, Direct mail has a 1% response rate. So let's use 100 people, right? You send out 100 letters, 1%, which is one person, the average, may reply to it. You may not even close a deal out of that. Now, I've had students that have had really good success with direct mail, but you have to remember that direct mail, if it's highly targeted and depending on your demographic, would do very well. The next one is going into then. So if you're not doing direct mail, I recommend cold calling. I recommend texting, and we have like scripts available. We have training on cold calling. There's all that kind of stuff. But cold calling is really where it's at, and texting. I have done a ton of deals through text messages. I've had sellers. I did a 4-package property last year where he wouldn't even get on the phone with me. I had to do everything through text, and so it worked. So texting is where you kind of want to be. So you want to market to your leads, and then your next step is you want to start negotiating. This is crucial. Negotiating, making sure you get it discounted enough as a wholesaler that you can resell it, resell the contract, assign the contract, or double close. But you want to get really good at negotiations. You want to make sure you're asking important questions. You want to make sure the things are covered that buyers would ask you. So getting into negotiations is fantastic, and then you want to go into putting it under contract. So many people get stuck in the numbers and analyzing the deal, and they don't ever send out a contract. As long as you have important contingencies in there, you have the right things on your contract, send out contracts. I tell my students, I want you sending out 10 contracts a week, because out of 10 contracts, 1 to 2 are going to get accepted in the beginning. Eventually, you may be able to land 6 to 8 a week, but in the beginning, 1 to 2 out of 10. So I say get in the habit of sending out contracts. Don't get paralyzed there. This is where people get paralyzed. They get too stuck in the numbers. And so once you have proper training, go out there, send out as many contracts. Like this week, all my students' goals were I'm going to send anywhere from 5 to 10 contracts this week. No matter what, no matter how many times it gets rejected, that's my goal. After that, you want to get photos of the property. This is incredibly important when you're doing virtual, and this is where maybe your boots on the ground will come in. Also with contracts, your boots on the ground might come in. I use DocHub. People use, there's DocuSign. I like DocHub because of the fact that Laura and I both are using it, and so when we started, DocHub was where it was at because we both had assigned different names. But what I'm saying is you can send that virtually, but let's say that this is an older demographic or somebody that just doesn't have access to internet to sign the contract, can't do it on their phone, then what you want to do is you need your boots on the ground to run over there and do that. Your boots on the ground can meet with the seller and have them sign it. You have title companies that can send out notaries, mobile notaries, and all of that. The other way this comes into play is the number 7 step is to get photos of the property and videos. And so going over there and doing videos and of the property, like a virtual tour, and pictures of the property, very clean, very clear pictures. Blurry, I can tell you right now, as someone that is a buyer as well, I will not work with you if your photos are blurry. Because I can't see it clearly, I'm going to want to view the property. As a virtual real estate investor, I do not want to have to view the property. I do not want to have my buyers have to view the property because my pictures aren't done. There are companies that you can send out, like wegolook.com. They can take pictures and videos of the property for you. And I have a lot of buyers that buy sight unseen. Did I grow into that? Of course I did. It was not an overnight thing where buyers just started trusting me and buying sight unseen. But my main buyers do, but also new buyers. I've had new buyers that have lived out of state or what have you buy solely off of just the pictures and videos that I had in my drive that they were able to watch and look at and say, okay, this is what I want. And so you want really nice, very clean photos. Have your boots on the ground or someone else do that. So once you have that, though, then you can market your property. So you want to market it to your email list, your list of cash buyers. You want to market it on social media, really get it out there and start marketing the contract. I should not say the property. As a wholesaler, legally, you're marketing the contract you have on the property. So with that being said, you want to market that contract and really get it out there. My buyers, I honestly can't use my social media that much because my buyers grab it before, but that was also something that has been built up over 6 years. I have a very personal relationship with my buyers, and most properties, 9 out of 10 of my properties get sold in an hour or less from putting it under contract with the seller. That's because I have it down fine-tuned. I know exactly what they're looking for, and I know what they're going to pay, and I can be able, if I can get that property to where it needs to be, I do that. Now, every once in a while, my properties do not get sold to those buyers, so I market it to like my non-VIP buyers. These are people that have not performed but have reached out to me, or social media, and I have a whole 10-step process for the students of how to market it, what to say, what kind of pictures are you looking for, how to avoid buyers going over you or around you, all kinds of stuff. So I'm giving you guys a lot of good information here. So I hope you're writing notes. And then we go into contract with your end buyer. So my end buyer has to put a non-refundable EMD down. That means, and I did this after having a contract once, under contract a property for 6 months because the buyer kept saying it was financing. So I have a whole process to that and why I do that. But then you put it under contract with your buyer, and they put their non-refundable EMD down with the title company. It goes into escrow, and then number 10 is you go to closing and you cash that check. So you can either double close, or you can assign, or you can co-wholesale, meaning that maybe you have a property and someone else has an end buyer, but you want to do that. So let's go a brief overview of the steps, and then I'm going to hop off here. Is number 1 is to set up your business. Number 2 is to pull leads. Number 3 is to have a CRM. Number 4 is market to leads. Number 5 is to negotiate. 6 is putting it under contract with the seller. 7 is getting photos and videos of that property. Number 8 is to market that property. Number 9 is to put it under contract with the buyer. And number 10 is to go to closing.